'Cause I had a love for you, only you, but I can't be around as long as trying to get through to you, just to see your point of view.
Welcome to the KYP podcast. My name is Danny. I am joined here with my co-host.
What up? It's James.
Kevin.
Last episode, we really opened up about our feelings about what KYP was. And it brought up a topic that I was thinking of while we were outside taking a break, which is identity. You know, people struggle so hard these days to find out who they are, what's their purpose in life. And we got lucky that all three of us kind of figured out what we wanted to do. I know for me, my vocation in life was to teach people. I think that I was put on this earth to basically help other people to learn new things, kind of dumb down complicated topics for people to understand. And I believe that as much as I've learned in life, I've managed to teach Kevin, I taught James, I taught a lot of people in my entourage. And I wanted to know, basically, what about you guys? What do you think you've been put on this earth to do? How did you came about to find your identity in life? James?
I came out of my mama, first of all.
Fuck me.
I mean,
It's going to be one of those episodes.
You did ask the question, but there's two parts. I think it took me a long time to get it figured out. I was a lost kid. I was a fat, chubby kid. I was very aware. So the first thing I noticed when I was a kid, I was very aware emotionally, and I sensed things that were stressful, especially. So I was always scared of my parents as a kid, you know, as an Asian kid in a household, as the youngest kid. I didn't want to get in trouble. So I was always living in fear of my parents. So I was always trying to maneuver my way to getting out of trouble. So there's one good example would be, it'd be report card time, and I know I had shitty grades. So I didn't tell my parents that I got the report card, and I just threw it away so that they would never find out. So I would hide the report card from my parents, and they would never find out about my grades. And I would always do that in order to avoid getting hit or getting scolded at. And so my whole entire elementary was how to get out of trouble, how to avoid getting screamed at. And that shaped me into a person that was very sneaky. So very aware, very aware of my surroundings, getting things done in my own way in order to avoid that fear. And then I grew out of that, and I started going to high school, and I started going to church a lot. And church is really that point in my life where it really shaped me into the person that I am today. Because I think we talked about this on another episode when we were talking about like being mindful. And, you know, my way of being mindful, it was through prayer, right? So going to church every Friday, every Sunday, you know, interacting with the community, you know, getting to know my friends and learning about God, and praying every night, singing my heart out. Those things really shaped me to become more empathetic, to get into with my feelings, to understand myself better, and to by talking to myself or talking to God, and, you know, letting it all out, all the hardships that I went through in my life, praying for others, you know, either it was my parents or my girlfriend, my friends, you know, praying for them, for their safety, for their health, for their success. That really helped me to become mindful of myself and others. And I was able to become more empathetic with others as well. And there was and the power of prayer. I'll give you an example how God shaped me was when there was one time I was at a retreat with my church, and we had a prayer night, and we were praying. And there was one thing on my mind to pray about, and it was about my parents. And what I prayed about, because my parents were working so hard at the dep at the store, they had like they work 7 days a week, for 12 hours, and they had no break. So I prayed for them to get a break. Please God, give them the strength to become stronger, to keep them healthy. Please, they're working so hard. Please give them a break. It's because they're so restless, and I feel bad for them. And the next month, my cousin's dep, because they have a dep as well, burnt down, like to the ground.
Oh,
And,
shit.
there was like an electrical problem, and it catched on fire, and the whole building burnt down. And for 2 months, they didn't have work. They needed money, right? My cousins. So they started working at my parents' store to make some money. And that allowed my parents to go to Korea and, to relax a little bit. So it's crazy how the world works. And, it could be a total coincidence that like I prayed about it for them to rest, and then this happened, and then they were able to do it. But it's just like, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe that there's a reason for all these things. And I think the power of prayer, manifestation, all those things, it really comes into fruition when you want it, when you need it, or, because I was seeing my parents struggle for a long time. And the fact that I was praying for it was in a way manifesting it, and it was showing my empathy. So my purpose in life is to understand people, to listen to them, to be able to give them support. I think that is my biggest purpose in here. And this is why the podcast is a great platform to do it, because I am able to listen to you guys, to the guests, and to really give some feedback, to give support, whatever you guys need. I'm there to be myself, to put myself into your shoes and to see where you're coming from. And I think through God and through prayer, through going to church, and being this empathetic person that's very aware of his surroundings, I think that allows me to become a support.
What I found interesting that you touched on is you mentioned how you were before the church. Like, you said you were
Fear of my parents.
Yeah, fear of your parents. You had to be sneaky. You had to, really analyze your environment.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like when God was introduced to your life,
I was allowed to put that with him, like that burden.
There was a perspective change, right?
Yeah.
Can you walk us through what that experience was like for you when kind of it clicked in your head that, wow, this is something I'm really receptive to?
Oh, so definitely on Fridays, I would go to church after high school, right? But it was not normal for my friends to go to church on Fridays. They were like drinking at the park, getting a bottle of Corona, sneaking it in. I don't know, they got alcohol, they were drinking at the park. For me, I was like, fuck, I have to go to church. So I went, and then there's something about music and prayer, and you're just getting into the zone. There's like it's like the sounds, the waves, everything clicks together. And when you're talking to yourself, closing your eyes and talking to yourself, something happens. Something clicks into your mind and your soul, your feelings, everything. They all connect together, and they're all aligned, and everything just comes out. Like, I don't know what. Like, I went through a lot of things, through the weeks, through the months, the years as a kid, and just prayer and everything, that it just all comes down into tears. It breaks down. So all the things that you're holding inside into your heart, it all comes out through prayer, through talking to yourself, and then after when the service is done, I'm like, I'm really glad I came. I feel better. Like, I feel light. When you like cry and you talk about your feelings, you feel lighter, right? After, like, when you let it out to somebody. But talking to God is like, it is a somebody. It is talking to somebody and letting it out. But it is through spiritual. It's a spiritual thing. It's not a physical thing when I'm talking to you. So there's something about that connection, about like like something that's not there but feels real. Like, you know how love and relationships, it's I mean, especially love. Love is not there. You can't see it, but it's definitely real to us because we feel it, right? So the connection with talking with God, it seems real to me. And maybe that's because I'm believing that it's real, or but there's something in here that I feel, the shivers, the energy. It's like it's very pure. It's almost, it's not something I feel every day. Obviously, it's something only when I feel, when I'm in that moment, that connect, when I'm trying to connect with that spiritual self of me. You know, and that those Fridays, they were the best. You know, I felt that there was a reward, that there was a purpose to it.
So when that feeling started to get introduced into your life, do you remember if, there was a change with how you handled your emotions? Like, do you remember how you handled like anger, for example, before the church, and how you handled anger after, you were connected with God and
Yeah. So as a kid, I was very angry, for sure. So like I would just be
like, I'm sure
gaming.
you still get angry, but how
you
how
see it
you
on the
deal
court.
with it is different,
You
right?
see it on the
Yeah.
court, right? When I'm angry, I'm talking shit. Or when I'm playing video games with my brother when I was a kid, I would smash the GameCube controller. Obviously, that's never do that again. But I would smash it, and I'm like fucking angry. I take it out on objects, right?
You would leave all your teammates in
I'm-
the middle of a League of Legends
yeah,
game.
I'm a child, right? Like I don't care about anybody. I just care about myself. I'm angry. It's very like it's very predictable. But once I went through church, it's like that anger can be processed. On a deeper level, I would talk with God about it. I'm angry. There's something wrong. I'm crying it out, and then it just goes away. It's still there, but like I don't feel that initial emotion, that
Yeah.
trigger.
You think before you act.
Yeah. So now
Like
if I'm
you're
angry,
you
think
go
about it.
through the feelings with God, right?
Yeah.
With yourself, with God, and versus I feel like uh when you were younger, when I was younger, I think when most young boys are kind of going through puberty, learning.
Oh, they get violent.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
get we're coming to terms with our animalistic instinct, the
Especially high
ego.
school, it's like a jungle.
Yeah, we get
Yeah,
introduced to it for the first time, right?
sure.
Because there was a period when you're a little kid,
Yeah.
none of these things
When
matter.
you're at home.
Yeah, who gets the girl, who gets the toy, it doesn't really matter. You're just a kid and having fun.
Yeah.
And then at around 13, you get the upgrade and you realize you have to manage all this ego. You have to
all these
manage
hormones,
pride,
yeah, it's mixed
jealousy,
up.
hormones, horniness. And, I feel like when you're younger, when those emotions are really kind of vivid, right? You can't control it almost. Your first response to anger when you're angry is completely reactionary. Like you do the
don't
first
think.
thing. Yeah, he hurt me, I'm going to hurt him twice as much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He talked shit about me, I'm going to make up this story about him.
Yeah.
But as you get older, you learn to kind of talk to yourself, right?
So how was your experience with that?
Yeah, like I never been a religious person.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah,
Like
fair enough.
I grew up in a family that was atheist.
Yeah.
Like my dad, he didn't actively bring it up or instill it in us, but if the topic of religion came up at the dinner table, he'd make it very clear that we don't believe in that stuff. And so I always thought religion was this kind of way for people to understand the world, how it was created, whatever. And when I had that perspective on religion, I really kind of disregarded it because in terms of how to explain the world, it really doesn't match with, my view.
It didn't match your environment. either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now my understanding of religion, now that I'm older, it's a way to help people, live their lives, right? It's a way to instill values and morals and act as a guiding compass. And not only that, to give individuals a tool to deal with the struggles and suffering of life, right?
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
to believe in. And now that I think about it, you know, when you're talking about prayer, it sounds a lot like what I do when I'm practicing mindfulness or meditation, or just kind of exploring my own thoughts open and honestly. When I'm doing that, I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, Kevin, you're feeling kind of off today. You know, I feel like you have a lot of anxiety.
going
I think
on?
you're
Yeah.
getting stressed out. You really didn't like that conversation you had with him.
Yeah.
Why is that? And you know, I used to hide from that voice. I used to shut that voice off, do something else to get distracted,
Yeah.
or lie to myself, or use that voice to lie to myself. That, because you're always talking to yourself, right? So if you tell yourself, you know, nah, I'm not going to go to the gym today. I'll wake up early at 6 a.m. and I'll make up for it, even though you know when you wake up at 6 a.m. you.
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with talking with God, is that you're putting that burden, that
You're taking accountability. You know.
So basically the thing with God is that you can lean on somebody.
Yeah.
Now you're leaning on yourself.
Yeah.
So I'll work out, I'll work harder tomorrow in order to avoid that situation. But if you talk to God about it and internalize it and say, okay, this is what I did wrong, you know, how should I go about it? Then it's like you're relying on somebody. It feels good to lean on something than being so hard on yourself and, like, you know, internalizing it here rather than letting it out.
Yeah.
And then so it shows through your actions.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it bothered you.
So, you know, for me, in my experience, I feel like I got to a similar kind of clarity as you did with,
I'm sure.
through religion.
Yeah.
I got it recently, and it's along these lines. And how I process it is like, I think everybody knows me as a very social person, and I really know how to kind of get along with people, help people understand my point of views, and also help other people understand each other's views. I'm really good at conflict resolution. I'm good at connecting with people. I'm good at getting close with people, right? And I realize that's because I give people so much empathy. When I'm dealing and thinking about other people, I'm so considerate, you know, oh, I don't want to do this to impede on his schedule, or like, oh, I don't want to bring this person because I know they might have a little scuffle. I don't want to make an awkward environment. And I'm always thinking about other people. Same with don't get me started with my family, right? Because I came into this world with a brother who's 7 years older than me. Yeah. So immediately, as soon as I was born, I was assigned a designated bully. Like at every stage of my life, you know, that until I was like 21, he was my biggest hurdle, right? Yeah. So I had to always be conscious of his desires, his intentions, because it's going to affect my day. If he's angry, I can't play video games. Or if he's not angry, you know, I could, and that along with the two parents, right? And so my whole life, it's just always thinking about how to live my life around other people or for other people, or, you know, in avoidance of other people, right? Like we both
I always avoided my parents, my brothers,
because if you're that type of person, it's inevitable that you kind of create a persona or a mask, right? That's not your real self, because there's no way
you can't be yourself in that situation. Your
real self, if you're being your true self, you can't accommodate for everybody's desires or, you know, wishes for you, right? And so for me, back to, you know, kind of the clarity, achieving clarity, is I was doing that for all those people, but during that whole time, my whole life, until like maybe last year, 26, the voice that I used to talk to myself was not like this, was not considerate, was not open and honest, was not respectful, like the voice that I use for other people. You know, being considerate of other people's feelings, you know, being understanding of other people's flaws and weaknesses. I didn't do that for myself. For myself, it was just like
hard on you.
Yeah, you know, you're just fucking
your brother.
You just suck. There's no like there's no like, oh, I don't understand, maybe da 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 da. It's just like,
not
oh, you
considered
couldn't do it, you
yourself.
fucking suck, like,
Yeah, bro, that's exactly
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is with talking with
Yeah.
God. It's like he accepts me.
yeah,
who I am.
exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't God that was introduced.
Yeah.
It was me flipping that external voice and giving all that effort and consideration to everyone outside of me
For yourself.
and turning that into myself
Self-love.
and making that the foundation of my identity, right? Back to the to the beginning of this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Make it, because before, the root of my identity was a mishmash combination of what everyone else wanted me to be. My family, the kids at school,
Yeah.
the kids at Chinese school, the kids at the court. I created a piece of me that
matches.
would get acceptance in all of those different groups.
Yeah.
And I spent my whole life with all my energy, my mental capacity, all on the outside. Now I've turned that inward, and that is the biggest change. That's where the clarity comes from. Now that voice is open and honest to myself. So if I miss the gym, or if I'm doing something that's not getting the results I want, the voice is no longer like, oh, you piece of shit, I knew you couldn't do it, guilt, shame, shame. The voice is like, okay, Kevin, you missed the day. That's bad. I know that. It's kind of like talking with a teammate.
Like tough love.
Yeah, it's not like, it's not nothing personal. We're just trying to get better and do better. This is a conversation just like you would have at work. If a problem arises, you would have on a
Constructive
team.
criticism to yourself.
Constructive criticism. And that criticism, I take it seriously, but I don't take it personally.
True.
So I talk to, like, as a podcast team, if we have a problem, if I use my voice that I used for myself, like the really negative, put you down, toxic voice, if I use that to kind of give you guys criticism or give you guys pointers, it would not work out, right? You can't talk to other people like that.
No.
So why are you talking to yourself like that? So if I'm using the same kind of approach as how I would kind of operate a team or give pointers to a teammate or a partner, to myself, because I deserve that. I deserve the great respect that I'm giving other people. You deserve that yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of people fall into this, like, they seek love. The purpose of their life is to find love, and you're always focused on someone else. I want someone to love me. I want someone to put all my love in. What? Do it to yourself first.
Yeah. Trying to find that voice. Yeah. What about you, Danny?
Well, I'd say for me, I'm not very a spiritual person. Yes, I grew up in a household where I was baptized. I went to church, but I fell asleep in church one too many times, and my mom smacked the living shit out of me. And that was the first time and last time I fell asleep in church. Yeah. But I'd like to say I'm a very rational person. I like to come up with my own solution. And I believe that religion has a purpose in life where a lot of people who can't find solutions rationally has to turn to faith. I remember this one time where this girl I had a crush on, which thank God she became a girl that I'm seeing right now.
Nice.
I tried everything, I went by the book, tried to read the signs. I couldn't understand the signs. And one day she was in Montreal and I was hanging out with her and I was shit out of luck, out of solution. I didn't know what to do anymore. So we went to a church to go see a light show, and I was surprised I was not incinerated as soon as I walked into a church. And
It's so good there, right?
yeah. Anyway, so I went by, I remember at the end of the show, I just walked up to a candle. You know those candles you put like $10
Yeah.
to light up the candle and you pray? So lit up the candle, prayed. I just said, hey, God, it's me again. I know it's been a while and I know I've sinned a lot, but can you just throw me a bone for once in my life? And I did that with another candle. So I ended up paying $15 for 2 candles. And the next thing you know, the next time she came to Montreal, I expressed my feelings, and she said, yep, okay. She kind of turned me down at first, but then she turned around and said, you know what, I'd have feelings for you too. And it's a running gag now between her and I, where I'm like, that $15 was so worth it.
Yeah, it was.
It was definitely worth it.
Telling you, you manifested it to yourself.
I just manifested it to myself. But I think for me, the reason why I came up to be the person that's very rational and logical and wanting to teach people other things stems from the fact that I wanted to learn. I wanted to be the person that had all the solutions. I didn't want to be the person who said, I don't know. I guess I'm going into a lot of personal detail in my lifetime, but there was one point of my life where I had a person really close to me going through a rough time. I went to visit that person and, you know, came into the place, didn't hear anything, said hello, went into the room. Next thing you know, there's a razor blade on the floor, very graphic scene. And honestly, if it weren't for me not knowing how to treat that person or any other person who is squeamish about, you know, blood or anything, then you're at a point where you say, what do I do? I don't know what to do. And that moment where you hesitate and say, I don't know what to do, can mean the life or death of someone. And so I brought it upon myself to, you know, always have a backup plan, always know how to do something, because you never know when someone will depend on you on anything in life, whether it is to save their life, whether it is to help them overcome an obstacle. And even if it is just, hey, can you grab me that spoon over there? It's that willingness to help someone, to be there for someone, that led me to be the person I am right now, to learn stuff. And if I can't help someone, then at least I can teach them how to do something. You know, that analogy with the man, you can give a fish to a man, but it's better if you teach him how to fish.
Yeah. So your identity, you know, is kind of tied to this desire not to feel that helpless again.
Yeah.
That helplessness where you didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm. But thank God I knew what to do that time.
Yeah.
And I patched up that person. That's why I say two things. Number one, always keep a first aid kit with you. Number two, you know, if you need help, go seek a therapist or go seek some professional help. There's no shame in that. But yeah, I think as time went on with life, I learned a lot more things. I learned how to do photography. I learned how to, you know, shoot videos. I learned a lot of menswear things. And it leads to, how do I convey to people that I know all these things? And the only way you convey to people that you know a lot of these things is to do these things publicly, show them, people, lead by example. Once you lead by example, people will follow you. And so fashion was the first thing that came up to my mind. Started dressing up outlandishly. You know, I always have suits. Of course, when you see the best dressed guy in the room, you're going to ask him for advice. You're going to ask him for some tips. And that's how I learn how to convey my identity through fashion, through photography. But at the end of the day, it stems from wanting to help, wanting to teach someone something. And I think it's super important, right?
I think it comes in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be like a sort of like a savior kind of thing? Like you want to save people? Is it help or is it save?
I think it's not along the line of saving, but it's more along the line of passing the knowledge on. People who are less fortunate to not be able to learn something or not being able to learn something. Also, it comes from the fact that I believe that the academic system, academia, has failed me as a person.
Yeah.
A college dropout because I didn't fit the mold of what school wanted me to be. I didn't want to be the person who ingest information and spit it out on a piece of paper. I wanted to execute the things, right? I was in high school in physics. Teacher loved me because every time after class, we'd learn about the basic, you know, Newton's law, all these basic things. And after class, I would basically give him a problem that I was working on. I'm like, hey, if this projectile was going at this speed with this mass, how do I calculate the velocity of drag? How do I calculate its velocity, and how do I calculate the coefficient of drag based on the air friction and everything? And it was like, how the fuck do you know that? I was like, I just read a lot. I just super interested, because before I wanted to become a photographer, my main goal was to become a ballistic physicist, move to the States, work on aeronautics, work on firearms, anything. And then when that didn't work out because I hated science, I wanted to join the military. And then that big experience happened where I had to help someone out, and I considered military, but I considered joining the trauma corps or the medic corps to help someone if that person's in need. I will risk my life to help anyone.
Yeah.
And I think that came from a place where if I'm not able to do something, I want another person to be able to help another person or teach another person. You take the knowledge, you pass it on to someone who can't afford it, who can't learn from it.
So no matter what, he wants to be in some way able to help someone. If he doesn't know the knowledge straight up, he wants to teach someone up who can eventually, or who can fulfill that potential of getting that knowledge.
Yeah, I think you internalized it in a way that to make it more positive.
Yeah.
For yourself and others.
Mm-hmm.
And you did teaching, and teaching is not an easy task.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can teach.
Yeah.
I think you do have the skill, not only to teach something that's hard and make it easy, but also you come from a good place, which with empathy, like we were mentioning. I think all of us are pretty empathetic.
I think that's what connects us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all understand each other on some level enough for us to relate to each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's how friendships work. That's how relationships work. And that is the most valuable currency, I believe.
Yeah.
Relationships. It's so hard you can't buy relationships, with money. So you have to work for it. And I think that there's a lot of value into relationships like this. And we all learned from relationships with ourselves and with others. That's how we grew and created an identity for ourselves.
Yeah. This conversation is making me think, right? Like, I think, what we all desire is wanting people and society to understand each other, right? And this conversation kind of telling our experience with finding our own identity. It's like each of us is telling our origin story. If you think of it as like a Marvel movie or an anime movie, we're talking about our origin story, like something significant, a significant challenge, a significant trauma in our life that kind of influenced how those branches developed, right?
Yeah.
For me, it was, that feeling of social rejection, of not fitting into a group, of not being valued in a group, of not being accepted. That has shaped, my personality and my kind of calling in life, right? I've become so adept at that skill because I never wanted to feel that way again socially, right? Danny was the sense of helplessness or lack of knowledge, and he dedicated his life to being a sponge for knowledge, right? Your struggle was voicelessness. You never wanted to feel like you had to hold your feelings or your opinions inside, so you put it on your chest, right?
On my chest.
Yeah. And that's where the desire to pursue fashion and express yourself in
It's a shield.
In a visual way, right? We all found like our biggest struggles growing up or traumas growing up, it manifests in guiding us to, what we want to do in life.
Yeah.
But you don't know that right away. This is
high level stuff.
This is after I've gone through it.
Exactly.
But in the midst of it, you're kind of just
chaotic.
wandering around this world blind, right? One day you see a movie, Wolf of Wall Street, you're like, oh, that's interesting. I want to go that direction. Then you see Rich Brian, oh, damn, Asians can rap. I want to go that direction.
Yeah.
But when you really start breaking down and unpacking your
barriers,
your the things you've had bottled up, your flaws that you don't want to face. when you unpack it, it's gonna be terrible at first. It's just there's no way to describe it. It's just being honest with yourself is the most brutal experience you go through, because you really come to truth with it. And everybody has some fucking shit they're hiding, right, from themselves. Once you start to go through that and you come out the other side, you're able to do this. You know, you're then able to kind of
move on, to grow on a different direction,
and then you're no longer susceptible to all the
trauma,
this false these distractions, these false purposes, you know, rich, fame, superficial shit. And you really unpack your own origin story, and you find out what you're meant to do. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's crazy. I just pieced it together here.
I think for me, there's two things I believe that prevents people from finding their calling or things in life, right? The first thing is comparison. People on social media always compare one another, right? Why is it that James, someone who's in streetwear, is so much more successful than me? I know a lot in menswear, I know fashion, but why people look at James? Because he's so cool. He's that. I'm cool too. I wear suits. You know, it's that feeling that you have to compare to one another to become better. That's one reason. And it basically put, you know, that thing on horses, like
the visor
that
straight line
tunnel visions you into a path that you might not want to go in the future. It tunnel visions you into that path that's like, I need to make more money so I'm as successful or more successful than that person. Like for me, I always thought that I'll be rich, I'll be doing this, I'll be doing that in life. I'll be like my dad, have a nice family, have a nice dog, a backyard, have a nice car. But then as I started to unpack, I said, wait a second, money does not bring me happiness. That's why I live in a fucking shoebox. What brings me happiness is helping people, teaching people, listening to people, providing solutions to problems that cannot be solved. And I think the number two thing is your distractions in life, things that you are addicted to. Not quite addiction as the super negative term, as being alcohol abuse, substance abuse, but more along the line of you are not being able to be with yourself, correct? If whenever you have free time, you decide to open Netflix, or whenever you're sitting, let's say, on a nice patio drinking your coffee, and the first thing you do is to text your friends instead of enjoying the moment. Or when you go visit some place, the first thing you do is take out your phone and basically take pictures of the entourage, and not spending time with yourself and acknowledging yourself that yes, you have demons in your closet, but you have to open your closet to live with your demons to become a better person.
Because the demons aren't going away.
Exactly. They're not going anywhere.
Oh, they live with you.
Yeah. I think a lot of people fall into this illusion that you can find some solution in your life, whether it's through fame or riches or praise or validation, that will, you know, as soon as I get into school or get this promotion, all these demons are going to disappear. No, baby. Like, you can hit the lotto for $600 million right now. Your demons ain't going nowhere. They're just gonna get bigger. Fucking boosted.
Get bigger.
Yeah. And that's why, like, people have the end result in sight, right? Their focus is at the end result. If you don't deal with and find a way to live with your demons that everybody has, will always have since the beginning of time to the end of time, you need to learn how to live with those demons first in order to pursue some end result, some glorified end result, because, you know, especially, you know,
change.
Everybody in a capitalist mindset, we want the biggest version, the most scaled version of everything, right? The more you scale, the more ammunition your demons have, right? Because there's more responsibility, more things on the line, more greed, more lust, more everything, more ego. You know, just as you keep growing, it gets bigger, not smaller. So if you don't find an amicable way to, you know, exist with those demons, you know, you can't sustain growth.
It's so hard, man. Like, I know so many people that are still living with their demons. They've rejected them.
Yeah,
And
denial is the worst.
yeah. Well,
Say-
yeah,
yeah.
not only they know it's there, but they're not willing to live with it. You know, they're still stuck in that.
They're
in
not
the-
accepting it.
yeah, like they're rejecting it constantly and trying to forget about it. And you know, it's just how do we like? I know how I did it, but I know it's not the same for you. So it's like if we were like 15 years old and I'm telling you, you'll go to church with me and your demons will be solved. You're like, no,
No,
right?
Yeah.
Maybe no. So like, I can't tell my friends or my family to tell them just go to church and pray to God. You know, it's not that simple. And that solution worked for me, but that's just me, right?
Yeah.
So it's just so hard, and it's hard to see. And because I'm empathetic, it's like it hurts me for that person to be
Yeah,
going through it
and
and
you
not
wanna-
able to just
You want to help them, but what you'll realize is when
How?
people are in
Yeah.
that space, you can't just tell them.
yeah.
Like you can't just tell them these things. You know, they might open up this podcast and listen to the things we're hearing, but it's not.
It doesn't solve.
It won't resonate
Yeah.
until.
It's professional
uh,
help, like you said, right?
Mm.
Yeah, I think maybe
think
a
it
professional
could
can get
help.
you there.
Yeah,
I never ended up seeing a therapist, but
yeah,
for me, it was it just things got so bad. Like I got pushed to an
the
ultimatum,
edge, yeah.
right? And you know, I think there has to be a better solution than that, right?
yeah. Because that could push you.
Yeah, because that
all
was
the
a
way
coin
down.
flip. That was
Yeah,
a coin flip
luck,
for me,
yeah.
right?
Huge luck, bro.
But
Yeah.
I think what helped me to make the right decision is, I think.
Like, what was the switch? Like, how did you just get out of it by yourself? You know, like you were alone. You didn't talk to anybody, not even your parents.
Yeah, I don't know.
How the hell did you get out of there?
It was just a decision between
Do or die? Like that was the situation?
Yeah, I think in the deepest depths of it, like it was suffering, but a lot, you know, kind of leaning into that suffering forced me to break down my life, like put it all out and make sense of it, all the good parts, all the bad parts. And at the end of it, I was faced with that decision where it's like, should I make the right decision on paper? What my family, you know, what will satisfy my family, what will satisfy my university peers, what will satisfy my professors, what will satisfy, you know, our family, friends, my everybody I know. I could get a sense of that, you know, in my life, that everybody in my life is expecting me to make these decisions in my life and follow that path. But it just sat so not well for me. Like, you know, on paper, I'm on the right track. I wasn't that far behind, you know, but why was I feeling such turmoil inside? And I just didn't believe that if I just, you know, follow what everybody else is telling me,
It'll be
that
solved.
this is going to go away. I knew for a fact it wasn't going away
The
because
demons would get stronger.
the closer I was walking
Yeah.
towards there, the worse I felt.
They were getting stronger. Those
Yeah,
thoughts.
the more despair I felt, you know, I was getting to a place where I didn't, you know, I didn't want to upset my dad, and you know, for other people's sake, I wasn't willing to kind of be selfish.
You were so selfless at that point.
Yeah,
Like, you didn't know how to be selfish.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I, yeah, you know, I can't articulate it right now,
Yeah.
but I think we were close. I think we were close.
I think you guys were very close.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it helps you, for me, the way I came about to be that switch is because, you know, I've gone through so many things in life that I do not wish on my worst enemy to go through. That, you know, when you're facing death's door, you realize that it's not that bad. Everyone's going to die. I think everyone might be a very pessimistic view in life, but there's one thing that all humans have in common is that we all die one day.
Yeah,
And so once you come to a realization that you will die one day, then you're not afraid of dying anymore. You're not afraid of failures anymore. And that for me made me realize that if I'm going to die one day, one thing I'm going to do is that I'm not going to die with any regrets. And
So that's similar to the fear of God. If you fear God the most, nothing else is scarier,
Yeah.
because God is the ultimate scary
Yeah.
being. He could like put a tornado in the middle of Montreal and get destroyed.
Just end this. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you're scared of dying, like, no, if you accepted that, like, that dying is the final result, then like nothing else matters. Like
Yeah.
you can get through it, you can solve it. But I don't know. Maybe it's different. What do you think? Like fear of God and then acceptance of death.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's two sides of a coin, right?
Yeah.
It's because there is death is imminent, that there is the acceptance of death. By accepting death, there is a peace in your mind that you know that one day you will be 6 feet under the ground.
So it'll just be that. Like,
And
it
that'll
was
be
meant to
that.
be.
And that it'll meant to be. It makes you feel at peace knowing that one day you have an end journey. Now, what do you make your journey to be?
Yeah.
And so that's how I came about to do things that I want to do in life, right? That's how I came to just enjoy the simple things in life. Because you don't know, tomorrow, God forbid, knock on wood, something might happen to me.
Yeah.
But when I am not on this earth anymore, I want to have two things. Number one, I want to be remembered as a person who's helped many people. I want people to come to my funeral and say that this person helped me out throughout my life. And that because this person did so much, I want to embody that philosophy and help another person around. And number two is to realize that, hey, at least I did everything I wanted to. I had my coffee in the morning. I talked to the people I love today. I said, I love you to my parents. And that's it. I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I think people are so scared to embody that they try to they try to cover themselves up with different things. They want to drown their sadness in different substances or different types of fun, just to not come to the gripe that, there's shit happening in your life. Sometimes you just have to deal with your shit. You can't just hide and expect it to go away.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty hefty topic. I mean, I don't know how I got it through it young compared to you.
Yeah.
I don't know how old you were, Danny.
Probably early 20s.
Early 20s. I think I got it easier than both of you guys. I think I relate to you the most for sure because you're the younger brother as well. I think my brother was not as much of a bully, but I did see him go through a lot of shit. And he took most of the beating, right?
Yeah.
If not all of it. And I think seeing that trauma, like seeing my brother suffer, allowed me to feel a certain way about him. The way how my dad treated my brother or my mom, like that affected me. I felt bad for them. That's allowed me to like be sad for them, And
Yeah.
I didn't know at the time how to fix it, how to be there for them. I just knew deep inside I feel there's something wrong,
Yeah.
And
it inspired you to change, right? And
yeah,
be the
like, and then I
change.
talked about it with God, and I'm like, these things are happening to my family, and what can we do to make it better, to fix it. And he works or she works in different ways, but by internalizing it, by talking it through, I think it really helped. It's just like, I don't know how people, like, I just wish everybody could find a solution, but I know not everybody can.
There's no one solution to everyone.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's the most complicated thing is there's no one solution, and not everybody finds a solution.
I think one thing that really helped, in my whole journey with this getting mental clarity and everything was when I realized I wasn't special. Like
Mm.
my problems weren't special. Like there was some point where I realized, oh, everybody is fucking going through this shit and we're all just pretending.
Yeah.
Like there was a moment where it clicked, like,
That's good.
you know, the people you see on TV,
Acceptance.
even my brother, even my own dad, like, oh damn, everybody. So that took a huge burden off for me. You
But
know what
less
I mean?
pressure, yeah.
And it put it into perspective. Wow, like, wow, some people have to do this under even worse conditions. You know, they
Exactly.
didn't even have a, you know, at least my parents are great parents. Like, you know, I love my parents. I love my dad. I love how he raised me. I'm very grateful for all of it. It's just a, you know, a little quality of life improvement that can be made. But, you know, even with such a great foundation, I experienced such, you know, suffering. So now I can't even imagine people, you know, there's many people who are less fortunate and less privileged than I am. I can't imagine, you know, what they're going through. Like they have to juggle this with other constraints as well. Maybe there's a broken home, maybe there's an abusive parent. You know, and so for me, when that perspective kind of kicked in where I'm not that special, everybody's going through some stuff, it kind of really
It reassured you.
reassured me and kind of gave me that push, like, you know, if you're do it for all the people who've had it worse. You know what I mean? Like if they can suck it up and get their stuff in order, you can do it too, man. And it was like a kick of motivation or inspiration.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we're all going through different struggles in life. No one struggle is more important than one another. Like just because you're having a bad day, it doesn't make your bad day not as good as someone who, let's say, is going through a loss of a family member. You have your own reasons to go through your bad days, and no one can discredit you for having a bad day. That simple saying that just says, dude, it's not that bad, is such a bad way of looking through in life. You should look at every problem equally. You should go through all your problems as with as much, like, how do you say that? You want to go through, overcome all your problems as if it's a big problem, because by overcoming the little problems, you can overcome a bigger subset of a problem, right? You just break down a bigger problem to little chunks. And just the fact that, let's say you don't wake up every day in the morning to do something productive, you could, you know, adjust slowly to do that. Because if you wake up earlier, you could do more things. If you do more things, you won't feel too much stress about doing stuff last minute.
Yeah.
It's just overcoming your problems slowly but surely, understanding where your problems are coming from, like looking introspectively into your life. What happened? Why do you do things? And I think the why is the biggest thing to ask yourself. Why do I do something? Why am I reacting to this
Why am
thing?
I doing this? Yeah.
Yeah.
For real.
Once you find, and no answer is wrong. There's no such thing as a wrong answer.
Yeah.
But as soon as you find out your why, then you can find your purpose in life. Then you can understand why you do something for a reason. And I think that's just, at the end of the day, the biggest lesson to learn here is we've all gone through different traumas in life, but at the end of the, but we just ended up introspecting, looking within ourselves, and just said, hey, why do I act this way? Is there a reason why? And then we found the reason why. And that's our why that we live by today
Yeah.
in Kill Your Pride.
Bars.
The answer is not outside. It's
Within.
within.
Exactly. And so I think that wraps up a very gloomy episode, but very enlightening. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Any last words you guys want to say?
Wow, that's tiring, man.
Back to back.
Yeah, back to back, really deep ones too.
Yeah, I mean, for everyone that's still figuring it out, There are different ways to find there's different solutions. Not one solution is right or wrong, but it's definitely good to ask why you're feeling this way and how to maneuver.
Yeah, I also
that.
think, don't feel like there's a huge rush, right? I think everybody gets to it at their own,
What if you're like 89 years old?
you know, as long as you're making steps towards it, I think, the time will come. You'll know when the time is. And I think a lot of that has to do with factors outside of your control, like
Yeah,
how you were raised. I think the
it's
example.
a huge environmental factor.
Yeah. But yeah, we're all just figuring this out together. It doesn't matter if you're slower or faster.
Yeah,
than
we're
other
not
people.
we're not alone.
Yeah. We don't know
Yeah.
shit yet either. Like we
not
we
certified,
still have
yeah.
many, many, many years to live, and we're probably gonna get bodied many more times.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
embracing failures, embracing everything that you've gone through. Time is, yes, it's a finite thing. Time is finite, but don't feel the rush to find something because it will come naturally. You just have to look within yourself, find your whys, and eventually it will happen. Don't force yourself to do something that you don't want to do in life to please someone else. You have to do it for yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Do it for yourself.
Oh, I just have a last thought. I think another big thing is leaning into doing the uncomfortable thing. Because doing all the self exploration, being honest with yourself, being honest with other people, being honest with your flaws, this is very uncomfortable shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in a world where everybody is seeking comfort, like they want the comfortable outcome, they want the comfortable job, they want the comfortable life, you know, you don't level up from comfort. You level up from discomfort. That goes for working out, getting better at a skill, and it most certainly goes for working on your mental health as well.
And
So,
to take on that point, it's actually funny how you look at the people who've been dealt the shittiest cards in life are actually the most resilient in life, because
Oh yeah, it does build resiliency.
it
Yes.
does
Yeah.
build
So
so
important.
much resiliency.
So important, bro.
like, think of a video game, right? Think about a player who, they start the game and they're automatically
God mode.
elevated, level up, they pay to win and whatever. Versus the player who grinded up to level 100, doing all the different quests, learning the different mini games you have to learn, who actually knows how to play it. Now when they meet up, they're both level 100, but it's very different.
Yep.
Right? Because one went through the trials and tribulations and earned his skills and experience.
All right, so I am going to close this up, but remember that to whoever is listening to this podcast, that no matter what you do in life, you are not alone. Your friends, your family, people around you are willing to help, and that time, everything will come at a time. You just have to be patient and trust the process. So my name's Danny. These are my co-hosts.
Jay Watch.
Kevin,
And remember to kill your pride.
kill your pride.